So here we are entering December of 1917. The game automatically ends on the third turn of November of 1918. This puts me in an interesting position. If I was playing this to win as the Germans, I think I would do nothing. I don't think I'd launch this attack. They win a marginal victory if they can last it out that long without surrendering. Doing a little better than historically. Now, we're talking 10 turns. That's another 650. Are we doomed is the question. That's the first question. So I've got 3,900. Let's say 650 morale that they're going to pay. I've already paid this turn. 650 puts me... That's 10 months. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I'm going to be paying 11 months of that. So let's add another 65. That gets me up to 4615. 400 more. I'm not sure that the Allies can push it to that. I'm just not. However, it is an iffy thing. There's no guarantee that Germany would survive. I know they've got tons of U.S. units coming in. You can't really see them because of the lighting, but tons of U.S. units coming in this next period. They're going to take the brunt of the war. They can't get hurt in terms of national will, and they just will be pounding and attacking as much as possible. The whole goal of the end of the war will probably be to drive the Germans over the brink. The French can't really afford to attack because their morale is low, but the Brits and the Americans can just pound the Germans again and again out of supply attacks. It doesn't matter. We're just trying to cause casualties at this point. So maybe that 400 extra points can happen in casualties. 20 extra a turn would easily do it. I think that can be done for at least part of the period. I don't know if it can be done for the whole of it. So it would be a close run thing if I played for a no-risk option. But I'd rather see it over quickly, and I'd rather play it with the Germans trying to win the war. So then let's see if we have a chance with France. France has to get to 2,500 to be defeated. Now, Paris is not worth all that much, even if I take it. It's 3 centers. That's 45 points. And I think only 3 hex sides that are urban. 1, 2, 3, which is another 75. So we're looking at a little over 100 points there. What do we have for the French? We have 1,596. Let's just call it 1,600. Now, we have to get 900 points against the French to do this. Say I take all of Paris, that's another 100. It's still 800 points without taking the losses. I don't think I can win with the Germans. I just don't think it's possible at this point. Looking at the French demoralization. Now, do I know what the French demoralization levels are? I don't know. They're on the track. Either way, I'm going to play it out not for victory of the game, but I'm going to launch this big assault unit attack because it's what I want to do. But I also want to show how they work and see how they work and how effective they are at gaining ground. But I don't think the Germans have a chance other than by playing the waiting game. That's kind of boring. And again, I'm happy enough seeing it over. So, I think it's about time to start. Germans have about one more assault unit on the board coming on this month. This is their time. Yes, they're getting a pile of troops over here in January and February. But I think I'm going to be launching the attack here in December. And it's a winter attack. Winter's got its kind of interesting problems. It's going to make it harder to follow up the attack. So maybe I want to hold off this month. I don't know. We'll see. And the Brits blow their full supply. First of all, finding a not entrenched yet hex, they slammed in from here using mobile attack. Now with Amiens surrounded, after shifting some troops around, they launched an attack. 24 points of armor, 2 of those big new improved tank units. It just didn't stand a chance. The total strength applied wasn't that great. The damage is 13 to 9. Again, not that great. But the strength before the lack of supply issue, and yeah, the Brits are out of supply again, was just amazing. 4 hexes of Brits with the extra 24 points, all the artillery kicking in. Just humongous. And of course the French are trying to support still with their artillery. It looks to me like the Somme line is going to be broken fairly easily. I just don't see how to stop it. Not with that armor in there, because that seems to make it easier to cross rivers and stuff too. And it's going to be an ugly, ugly situation for the Germans where they're just losing ground. Now, if the Brits were concentrating this way, the German hopes on Paris would be dashed completely. But the Brits want to get the Belgians into the war. So, you know, whatever. All right. On deeper into December. And the Germans chose not to attack yet. Not because of anything except they want the maximum supplies. They want to be able to push this attack as far and as long as they can after breaking the French lines. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it though. When I start looking, I've got a lot of assault units. I can make a lot of little attacks, but they've got to be decent attacks. And I don't have that kind of force. I could conglomerate some force and make a couple of decent attacks. But that first turn surprise advantage all along the front, the thing I wanted to do with that is hit everywhere, break the line everywhere, and just send the French running and then begin hitting. But that's really just not possible. We'll see. Just realized my calculations about the Germans. I was saying, they're going to lose 20 a turn. Well, it's actually 20 a month. And, oh boy, they're certainly going to lose that many each month in addition to... I mean, this is no close thing. So there is no way they can win without making the assault. So the assault will happen. No question there. The Germans cannot hold out. They're under too much pressure already. I think the only way the Germans can win that way is a remarkably peaceable game, maybe with just artillery shellings and such not. So the German reaction to the situation? Well, we had all these Hindenburg line hexes. They pulled back, made the penetration by the English, or opened up the bulge a bit further, and fell back to these Hindenburg hexes, which theoretically should be facing this way. But, well, that doesn't really make a difference, and that's okay. I mean, the main infrastructure probably would be mobile enough. You know, the turreted things and everything are able to scan better. But it feels a little weird because those probably shouldn't be that potent facing the direction they weren't built for. But anyway, trenches in this have all around facing. This is really iffy. They had to put a headquarters in kind of a dumb end run area to cover everything. Remember, it's winter still, so they do have to keep their headquarters on the line. They're pulling engineering units off the line because they lost one last turn. Those shouldn't even be there. They lost one due to a retreat result. They should just be piling them away, and I'll try to figure out where they all are, basically being sloppy. But this, you know, opens up a wider area, more opportunity. It didn't work, and the Hindenburg line certainly helped to reduce those losses. Ooh, I've got to take some additional tank losses too that I forgot about. Anyway, that's where we kind of are. So the German ploy kind of was successful in a sense. Maybe a risky move, but I don't know. It seemed to work. So the Brits again turn against a perceived weakness in this extension, and again the Germans get lucky. The Brits hit against it and are unable to budge it, even though they threw tanks and they ended up losing 4 tanks. These are not big, good attacks. They're piecing together units that they had in the area, looking for a weak spot and trying to do some damage here. They took like 11 points to 5 that they caused because they couldn't quite overwhelm the force even with the armor thrown in. Terrible die roll. They got a 1 on that, and the Germans actually got a 6 coming back, which is why it was so bad for the Brits. Otherwise, nothing much happening. Germans just strengthening up where they lost troops. The French trying to figure out if they can launch an attack here. They've got some Americans that they positioned last turn, hoping to do it, but they just can't quite bring themselves to it, especially since I kind of foolishly or illegally or whatever made my roll here. I didn't set up the attack. I try to fly things kind of fast and loose when I'm playing these because I just can't concentrate on the whole board at once. And obviously, this is just one front, right? Imagine the whole thing. To be able to focus on it, you'd really need everybody. You'd need a bunch of players, a team playing where, one person's taking this front, or maybe 2 people taking this front, because it is tough per side. And then, the same on almost all the other fronts, because there's just so much shifting, so much little stuff to take care of. It would be a pain in the ass. But maybe a glorious one. Well, the Brits do manage to capture another hex and continue pinching. They can't get one of the key ones. They want to make it so the Germans can't get out. But it's getting closer and closer to the Germans not being able to get out. They're going to have to reinforce that. They're also getting their kind of last 12-5. This is the 5th turn of the season coming up. They got their last 12-5 here. That they're getting in the near future. They get some conversion ones or something. I got to look up the rules on that. I want to make my attack while it counts, but I also have to defend this if I'm going to keep going. This is really, really a hard timing situation that I wish I really had a feel for the game better so that I knew, yeah, I can hold out one more, or whatever. I got a headquarters way out here. I can't resupply it because the rail net goes through Paris. I lost this part of the rail net. I got some real problems here on the German side, but I need to launch this attack. I need to create some more space so that I can live. I need to get my engineers down there to build rails once I do make any ground, if I do. I think things are hopeless for the Germans. I don't think they have a chance of winning the game, no matter what. Obviously, they don't if they stand still. But I do want to see how this offensive might work out. Again, though, I feel sort of like when I launch it, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing because I'm going to be launching it with so much less force than I'm used to hitting things with. Just spread out in so many different places, and it could fail massively. We'll see. Well, the German High Command thought that their Strasstruppen would do much, much better than they actually did. Took a hex of Paris. Got rebuffed here. Wherever they attacked here, they picked one hex, probably this one. No, this one where the artillery are centered. They made some successes. This didn't work. This was a failure. Way too weak to attack. But other places where they were successful, I think they bumped into this hex, but they failed down here trying to... Well, actually, they didn't fail, but they took heavier losses than they dealt out trying to take Mulhouse. Or Mulhouse. Not a good situation for the Germans. They're pretty much doomed. They're up to 4,000, actually above that now, 4,020, 4,030 for their demoralization. They've only gotten the French up to 1,600 and something, 1,670, And where do the French go bad? Yeah, you got to look all this stuff up. The French have to get to 2,200 to hit economic collapse, 2,500 to lose. The Germans only have to get to 5,000 to lose. I just don't see a way out of this. I'll keep playing. But, you know, a little bit more care. I could have done better with the Germans. I really kind of just said, okay, I'm not going to put the effort in. And this is a game that definitely charges you when you try to get away without putting the effort in, as do a lot of games. You can't just look and say, I got a decent number of stacks there. Well, you could. You can kind of look at the height. You can say, well, I've got stronger troops on the Germans, whatever. That's what I've been doing with the Brits all along. Actually, I've been looking and saying, I don't feel too comfortable about this. Well, I didn't feel too comfortable with these German attacks either. Had I looked at the charts and considered them, some of them probably would have been automatic failures or very close to. But with the German assault troops, first turn of use, they're able to brush aside as though there was no trench. They're forced the retreats as though there's no trench on this one turn, which is why I did attacks all along the front. It's not going to happen again. Now their only use is where there are no trenches. They negate the retreat bonus for normal terrain. If and only if there are as many assault troops, and a 12-5 assault unit only has 4 strength points of assault troops in it, and you know, those are the things that die first. Only if there's as many assault troops as there are opposing defenders. So it's going to be almost impossible to launch an attack from now on that has that assault troop bonus. And, you know, really where I gained here doesn't help me. Here barely does. I've got entrenchments on both sides. It's only this hex, which, you know, because I'm attacking 3 hexes to 1 where I can, their gains have not helped them much. And then over here, they might be able to launch something. But for the most part, yeah, that's no longer... I've still got an entrenchment there I think I've got to remove. Alright, anyway, we'll see how the Allies come back at that. But this was a very painful half of a turn because attacks are expensive in terms of mental ability. There's 2 calculators here for a reason. There probably should be a third one because the way I use or maybe a fourth, the way I use the calculators is I have to add up, and I'm bad at counting. I'm fine at math, but it's hard for me to count, especially I've got a podcast on right now. You can't hear it. But I add up all the troops attacking, all the artillery attacking, because they pay different costs in supply. The third one would be all the attacking cav, or maybe foreign troops or something like that. Then I got to do the same for the defender, but they're only 1 hex, so I can usually kind of hold those numbers in my head. But when, you know, I'm looking at 3 or 4 hexes, or even just 2, it's tough for me to keep my numbers in my head. And then do the division in my head that I need to figure out how much supply I need. And then I have to kind of fudge around and figure out, oh shit, if I had calculated this out beforehand, I would have transferred supplies and everything. As I say, I play fast and loose. I don't see any way to play this game otherwise. I mean, this game would be, to me, a mental counting and arithmetic nightmare. Just dealing with the supply side of it during an assault. Rather than, you know, in addition to the nightmare of shifting counters around if you really wanted to get your attacks and defenses to be aligned properly. And now the English conduct a number of attritional attacks, at least in essence. One against this hex, one here that they gained the hex, and here that they gained the hex, I think. Oh no, wait. No, just the 2. One here that they didn't, and one here where they did. The Germans moved up here because they could get more force on the line rather than the gap that they had left. But by being there, they forced the English to kind of say, well, what the hell? I'm not going to let you shorten your line and then dig in there. I'm going to knock you out of there. The English probably didn't really want to advance, but they did anyway because their goal at this point is just wreck the Germans. They've given up on that push for Belgium, and instead they're trying to help the French after this assault. The U.S. troops have been thrown into Paris in a defense. Remember, I can put like 8 divisions on the line. Well, I only have 2, yeah, or 3 or something. They're all on the line. And again, I don't I don't know. If Paris is threatened this much, I don't see any problem with throwing them on the line. So it feels to me like the game doesn't take the political aspects into account so much, but the entire U.S. Army is currently on the line, spread out under French command, which I don't think fits very well. Anyway, we move on. All right. Well, here we are at essentially the end of 1917. I've started 7th turn of December, started moving some of the Germans. Last night I had to walk away from it because I knew I would quit. After a night's looking at it again, and after a night's rest, and then doing some stuff to try to get back into my job, it's a hopeless situation. It really is. The Germans cannot launch an attack that can possibly do any damage in Paris. Is there any possibility of them generating an attack anywhere along the French line? My feeling is no. If I had gotten significant punch-throughs where I was, facing French forces that no longer were entrenched, had the French on the run in a number of places. But this hex is not a trench. This one can't be. But I just cannot find an attack of sufficient size to kind of break through and get any ground. And my morale is broken at this point. As a German player, if I were playing this 2-player, this would be the point where I would say I have absolutely no chance. Let's look. I'm at 4,000, which means I think another 1,000 points for the Germans to fail. For the French, I'm at 1,600, which I think I have to double to send them over. I have to do another 900 to the French. The Germans lose 65 a month. I'm going to have trouble doing that kind of damage to the French. I just do not have the resources. At this point, I feel like I had bet all my remaining force on this holding of Paris. I really thought that was my only chance, and I'm going to call it here. These assault troops are not effective if they're facing trench lines. They're effective for one turn, and that turn, France had too much strength everywhere along the line for me to break it. I got nothing like the historical result here in terms of the Germans breaking through the French. The French have not been taxed enough. They have given up a large swath of the line. The Brits hold up to here. Okay? This is the French side. I've got to call it here. And I'm just not terribly interested in seeing the rest of it. I'm not going to devote another week. I don't have the energy to get it done in a week. I think I'm going to be dragging my feet and really hating playing this out. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to call it here.